I used to believe that respect was something you had to earn by proving yourself, by working harder, by being nice. In fact, we have all heard things like be a good person and good things will happen to you. Kill them with kindness. And Gandhi ji ka famous, if somebody slaps you on one cheek, you should offer the other one. But real world doesn't work like this, does it? People don't always respect you because you're nice. In fact, in most cases, the nicer you are, the more people take you for granted. People interrupt you, they talk down to you, they make jokes at your expense. So, if you are this person, if you feel that you are a nice person, if you feel that others take advantage of you, mock you, disrespect you just because you are nice, then I want you to watch this video till the very end because I am sharing 8 psychological tricks that will help you reclaim this respect without freezing, without being rude, and without ever having to pick a fight. Starting off with a point that is the basis of all of the respect that anybody commands in the world. Respect starts with you. We teach others how to treat us. So if other people are disrespectful towards you, chances are that you are disrespectful towards yourself. Self-respect is not about thinking that you're amazing in your head. It is about the way that you carry yourself, the way that you speak about yourself, the way that you behave around others. And most of us, without even realizing, constantly send signals to the world that we don't value ourselves. So every time you say yes when you mean no, you signal that you are a pushover. Every time you brush off a joke somebody makes about you, you signal that you can tolerate mockery. Every time you don't hold people accountable to anything that they've done, you signal that you are going to tolerate anything that comes your way. Every time you let your partner speak to you rudely without pushing back, you signal that it is okay to do this. These small moments, you think they're insignificant, but they add up. And slowly they teach people how to treat you, what your boundaries are. Rani from Queen is the perfect example of this. At the start of the film, she's the sweet, polite, constantly adjusting girl. She does everything for her family, for her fiancé. And what ends up happening? He leaves her, he disrespects her, he disregards her. And then throughout the movie, we see her journey, her transformation of starting to learn how to respect herself, how to take up space. And once she finally learns how to do this, it shows up in the way that people treat her too. Her fiancé wants to come back, her friends make space for her, and more importantly, people stop taking her for granted. Why? Because her growth in self-respect shows up in the way that she carries herself and interacts with the world. Albert Bandura's social learning theory confirms this. We teach others how to treat us through something called modeling. If you model, if you act like self-respect, by setting boundaries, by speaking assertively, by honoring your own time, people learn to treat you with respect because they get the signal that you are not going to tolerate bullshit. So here is what I want you to do if you feel that people are not respecting you right now. Ask yourself, where am I disrespecting myself first? Where am I shrinking myself? Where am I staying silent? Where am I settling? It will take a little bit of introspection for you to get these answers, but once you have that answer, I want you to use this next psychological trick, which is showing up as yourself authentically. The people who command the most respect in the world, they're not necessarily the loudest, the smartest, the most successful. They're people who are unapologetically themselves. But what does being themselves or being yourself mean? It means that you do not shapeshift, you do not act like a chameleon to be liked. You're not filtering your opinions or your presence to fit into somebody else's idea of acceptable. So it means you're not dumbing yourself down to avoid intimidation. You are not pretending to be chill with things that actually bother you. You're not afraid to show both your brilliance and your flaws. When you do any of these things, you're actually disrespecting yourself because you are doing something that you don't want to do. And over time, that shows up in your behavior, in the way that you carry yourself. And this does not mean that you don't dress appropriately for an event or you don't follow social etiquette. That is not what showing up authentically means. It means that you don't shapeshift your personality, that you don't adjust or form fit your personality to be liked, to get validated. Okay, there's a difference of intention here, why you are doing one thing over the other. When you show up as your full self, when you stop acting because you need validation, you basically embody that confident version of yourself, right? The rejection of this need to fit in automatically makes you command more respect. People pick up on that energy. I'll give you an example. So my manager, when she started working initially, she used to try and have this overly formal tone when she was speaking to professionals in the space, right? That's not a bad thing inherently, trying to be more formal, speaking in a more polished manner, but that is not how she naturally speaks. So when she switched up that tone for work, it came across as inauthentic because people could pick up on the fact that this is not how she normally speaks. You know, right, when somebody's speaking in an accent that they don't necessarily speak in normally, but when they're with, let's say, foreigners, for instance, or when they are with other people who they want to impress, they suddenly start speaking in an accent. And you know that this is bullshit. And that comes across as inauthentic. Now, over time, my manager has understood this. She's found her voice where she speaks respectfully, she speaks professionally, but she has her own tonality. It's not like an overarching, over-formal English conversation that she's trying to have with other professionals. She's found her voice and become this awesome person to talk to who instantly commands respect. There's something called the theory of congruence in psychology, which says that when your real self and your public self are in sync, people instinctively perceive you as trustworthy and confident, even if they don't agree with you. You still command respect, even if they don't agree with what you are saying particularly, because that authenticity comes across. That's the energy that people pick up on. Speaking of authenticity, it is not just about the way you speak, but also about your presence, how you show up. And the way you smell is a huge part of it. So before I move on, I want to introduce you guys to my current favorite obsession. These absolutely gorgeous fragrances from Plum Body Lovin'. I absolutely love the packaging on these, and I love how they smell and they make me feel confident and amazing in my own skin. These two are definitely your summer must-haves. The first one is this Oh So Pistachio. It has this fresh, nutty, almost gelato-like vibe that reminds me of a European summer holiday. I absolutely love the notes of pistachio, cocoa, and peony that this has. And I personally love floral and nutty fragrances. So this is like just the right mix of cozy and breezy. And if you are more into warmer, sweeter fragrances, then this Vanilla Caramello is absolutely amazing. It is very sweet, very cozy with notes of vanilla and caramel. It just makes you smell absolutely divine. So if Oso Pistachio is flirty, fresh and summery, Vanilla Caramello is smooth, sensual and delicious. Both kind of have their own vibe, but they're both equally irresistible. So you can choose to wear them depending on where you're going. Like Oso Pistachio is my day fragrance. I wear it to the gym when I'm going out and about during the day. And then Vanilla Caramello is like the sensual night fragrance that I would wear on a date night or a girl's dinner night. So depending on what your vibe is, you can choose either because Plum Body Lovin' has your signature scent down for the season. The links for both will be in the description along with a special discount code. Okay, now that you know your boundaries and how to show up as yourself authentically, we need to teach others how to treat you. Because how will other people know where your line is, where your boundary is, if you don't draw it in the first place? Once you become aware of where you've been disrespecting yourself and where you have been failing to show up authentically as yourself, you will understand in what areas you are lacking boundaries. And by setting and enforcing those boundaries is how you teach people to treat you in the long term. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this part is not instant. People are already trained to treat you in a certain way. They are used to you being the chill one, the one who never minds, the one who always adjusts. So when you start drawing these lines, these boundaries, there is going to be friction. People will suddenly feel you are rude, they will feel you're being difficult, and that is okay. It's absolutely fine. A few years ago, I used to live with flatmates, all girls, and one day a relative decided to show up unannounced at my flat. He had some work with my mom who was visiting me, but I was not home, my mom was not home, and he didn't call and check. He just showed up, and then my flatmates got a little freaked out. As soon as I got that information, I called him up. I told him it was not okay. I was a little angry, maybe a little rude at that point in time, and it was very, very unexpected for him, and he felt disrespected. He didn't speak to me for a bit, and this is a close relative. But now we are on great terms, and this has never become an issue. Again, you have to become mentally prepared for this, for feeling like people don't like you anymore, that they will feel disrespected when you enforce a boundary because they're so used to you not having any boundaries. In most cases, this is a temporary thing because people are readjusting to learning how to treat you. Also, setting boundaries is not a one-time announcement, right? You can't just say, okay, from today on, nobody disturb me while I'm working. It is a repeated signal. You have to keep reinforcing it till it becomes set in stone. So when I used to live with my family and work from home, there were so many interruptions because the concept of somebody staying at home and working was very hard to grasp, because when you're home, you're just chilling. Eventually, I started shutting my door. I stopped responding to requests when I was in the middle of work. And over time, that boundary got set. It took like 2 years for that boundary to become very, very solid. But now, nobody disturbs me while I am working unless it's an emergency. That is how boundaries work. You don't have to yell, you don't have to shout. Although with close people, with family, sometimes that is inevitable, and that's okay. Having arguments, sometimes being in the thick of things, having like a shouting match is absolutely fine if that is the way that you communicate. But the core of it is that you have to basically stop tolerating what you do not want to accommodate. It is going to be uncomfortable. It is going to cause friction, but it will become okay over time. So here is what I want you to practice doing in the next week. Anytime that you feel disrespected, acknowledge it in front of the person who disrespected you and ask them not to do it again. Be calm, be polite, but say it. No matter how uncomfortable it feels, no matter how nerve-wracking it is, you need to build that muscle of standing up for yourself. And you can take time if you need. Like if somebody said something today that you didn't like, you can take some time to understand it, to process it, to form your response, and then come back to them if that's a possibility. For instance, if your mom said something today and you are so agitated, you just can't respond right now, that's okay. Take your time, cool down, form a response, go back to your mom, tell her that this was not okay, this is not something you appreciate. And basically, you have just trained your muscle of standing up for yourself a little bit more. The goal here is not to be perfect, it is to train your nervous system to learn to stay calm while you are standing up for yourself. Now, an important part of setting boundaries is recognizing when to say no. Because most of the times you go along with stuff, you go along with plans, you keep saying, I'm good, you say yes to plans because you just don't realize till long after that you could have said no. Later on is when you recognize that you could have set a boundary, and by that time it's often too late. That is why to be able to say no, you have to learn to feel when a no is needed, because you have trained yourself to be so agreeable, to be a people pleaser, to adjust, to be understanding, so much so that even when something feels off, you don't have that reflex action of wanting to say no. You just have this quiet discomfort and you carry that, you suppress that, and over time it just turns into resentment. The truth is, every yes that should have been a no does not just steal your time, and it actually chips away at your self-trust. You start second-guessing yourself, your needs, you start losing connection with your intuition, your gut feeling. So here is how you can start recognizing your no moments. Start to notice if you feel resentful after agreeing to something, whether you start dreading the commitment as soon as you say yes. This happens so often with me when I make a social commitment. Or if you keep rehearsing excuses in your head to cancel later. You feel like you're betraying yourself just a little bit. That is your body telling you that this is a no moment, that this is not something that you want to do. And once you learn to recognize these signs, they become clearer. And once you feel the inner no clearly, the spoken no, like saying no, becomes a lot easier. So this week, when somebody asks you something, I want you to pause before answering. Ask yourself, if I said yes to this, would I still feel aligned an hour later? Or am I saying yes from desire or from the fear of disappointing this person? If the second part of this is true, that is your moment to pause and to practice saying no. The more you recognize when your body, your energy, your values are not in alignment with what somebody is asking you to do, the easier it gets to say no out loud. And that is when your boundaries stop being an idea and they become your reality. Now, I know what you're going to say here. What if I want to say no, but I just freeze up or get very angry when somebody disrespects me? This is when you use the next trick, which is one of my favorite things to do. You ask a disarming question. This is something that you do in the moment when somebody is disrespecting you. You know the feeling when somebody says something disrespectful, when they say something passive aggressive, you know that's wrong. You feel it in your body, but your mind has not caught up yet. They, on the other hand, are ready, they're charged, they're confident, they're quick with their jabs, with their justifications. And you are stuck in a dilemma. Do I fight back? Do I stay silent? That is when most of us either shut down or blurt something out that we will later regret. But my friend, there is a third option, a more powerful one where you buy yourself time and shift the energy with a disarming question. A question that is calm, that's unexpected, in a way that stops other person in their tracks. This is one of my favorite ways, like I said, of responding to disrespectful or underhanded comments. Something as simple as, why would you say that? Or could you repeat that? Or what exactly do you mean by that? You're not being rude, you're not being confrontational, you are just interrupting the rhythm that this person has by asking them to introspect on what they just said. This forces the other person to hear their own words out loud, and more often than not, they'll either stumble, they'll soften, or they will backtrack. With this method, what you're also doing is controlling your own emotions. Disrespect often triggers a quick reaction, right? So if somebody is disrespecting you, you might instantly get angry, you might blurt out something, you might try and give a jab back, but doesn't always land. But when you ask a question, you're taking time to respond with clarity instead of chaos. And because you are not reactive, you become in control of the room. Now, once you've grounded yourself, once you've understood how to ask these disarming questions, the next instinct that you need to watch out for is just as automatic as blurting out something angry when somebody disrespects you, and that is saying sorry. It is what so many of us do in these tense situations without even realizing it. Somebody interrupts you, somebody dismisses your idea, somebody puts you on the spot, and before you've even thought of a response, you just blurt out, sorry, it slipped out of your mouth. And you might think it's a little thing, it's inconsequential, but basically, when you do this repeatedly, it is teaching you to shrink. I have been notorious for this. I have said sorry for such inconsequential things in my life, like stupid politeness and stupid etiquette sometimes, I think. And I'm still learning how to get out of that loop because I've been doing this for like 30 years of my life. But two things that are really helping me not say sorry on autopilot. One is just pausing before reacting. Just one single deep breath. It helps with grounding and just makes what I am about to say more intentional. So more often than not, I don't end up saying sorry or any of the other things that make me shrink. And the other thing is intentionally changing the language that I use. I've noticed that people in power, people who command respect, especially the top 1%, don't do that. They don't say sorry for every little thing. Their language is more assertive, their body language is more assertive. And I realized this when I was shooting with Riddhi Dogra in Dubai. And I said sorry for something silly while we were in the middle of a shoot. And she was like, why are you saying sorry? Stop shrinking yourself. She said these exact words out loud. And I was bam. That was such a wake-up call. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. Like, why am I shrinking myself? Essentially, if you look at assertive people, they don't say sorry unless it's genuinely for a mistake. So now, I keep practicing replacing sorry phrases with more assertive language. So instead of, sorry, I'm late, I can say, hey, thank you for waiting for me. Or if I want to disagree with a point, for instance, the usual response that we have is, sorry, but that's not true. Why do we have to say sorry for this, yeah? I can just say, hey, you have your point, that's valid, but I kind of disagree with you. No, sorry, you are more assertive and you are also putting your point across respectfully. Then if you're asking a favor, for instance, our common response is, hey, sorry to bother you. Arey, jaake पूछना ही है favor, so hi, could I ask you for a favor? So much more confident and also just doesn't put you on the back foot. If you want like a list of responses, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the description and then you can just have those at the back of your mind. Whenever something like this comes up, you can use the non-sorry phrase instead of the sorry phrase. Okay, now this next one is a little controversial because I want you to detach yourself from the idea of respect and disrespect. Most of the times, people's disrespectful actions are not actually about you. It's about them. It's their ego, maybe their insecurity, maybe their need to show themselves as better than everybody else, their need to feel important, their lack of emotional maturity. And I'm not saying you need to brush it off or ignore it. I'm saying you need to stop taking it personally. Just because somebody says something or does something disrespectful, just because other people are participating in that joke or mockery, that does not define your worth. But when you take it personally, you absorb it, and suddenly somebody else's bad behavior becomes your emotional burden. We spiral into, why did they say this to me? What did I do wrong? When in reality, the disrespect is often a reflection of how bad or immature that person is. Detachment helps you kind of separate yourself from what they're saying and what you believe about your own self-worth. It's also an exercise in reclaiming your power, in staying grounded. When you're detached and in control of your reactions, you stay in your power and you become an observer rather than a participant who's internalizing every word that is being spoken. And the easiest way to embody this is to become responsive instead of reactive. The rule that I personally follow in life for every single interaction, for anything that I do, any decision making that I do, is to never make a decision, never make a comment, never just snap back when I'm in an emotionally vulnerable state. Whether I'm angry, whether I am just sad, reactive, hormonal, whatever. I don't react when I'm in that state. And just that having that pause makes such a huge difference, because you can come back to it, you can think through your decision logically and then make a response. You can talk to that person later. But if you've said something, if you've blurted out something, if you've given this weird reaction in the moment, it's not something you can take back. So if you get disrupted like this, if somebody is disrespecting your internal peace, instead of reacting, blurting something out, plant your feet firmly in the ground. The idea is to just feel the ground so that you become more present with where you are physically. Take a few deep breaths, ground yourself, and then respond. Again, you can do the asking a question thing, you can ask a disarming question, or you can straight call out that other person and say, hey, this is not cool, don't say it again. Just saying it calmly also interrupts their pattern. You still are in control of the room. So over time, you become this person who does not tolerate bullshit, but you are not mean about it. You do it calmly, and that is a superpower, trust me. But I know that detachment also has a limit, which is why if somebody is continuously doing the same thing, they're trying to elicit a reaction, they're continuing to disrespect you even after you calling it out, you need to stop being available to that disrespectful person. You need to stop being emotionally, physically, energetically available to people who continuously disrespect you. At some point, words, boundaries, silence, none of these things are enough, right? There are some people who do not get the signal. And that is when you need to act. You have to walk away, even if it feels drastic, even if it makes people uncomfortable, even if they don't get the closure that they think they deserve. I have done this in my own life so many times. I moved out of my house when I felt like my decisions were not being respected, because I needed space from those patterns that were constantly disrespecting my peace, and initially caused a lot of friction. But because these people are family, they're my parents, eventually things panned out. And now they respect my space, they respect my decisions, and I don't have to seek permission. Similarly, when I moved out, I made a conscious choice to not speak to certain relatives for 2-3 years on end, like to just distance myself from that zone. Not because I hate them, but because I needed them to relearn how to interact with me, how to treat me as an adult. And also I needed to relearn who I was without that passive aggressive commentary. And as a result, we now have a great relationship, even though those 2-3 years were like full of friction, they felt disrespected. Now they understand. I have cut off friends without long explanations because they were not owed any explanation after they continued to disrespect me. They all had their chances, all the signs, and they still chose to act in a certain way. And that's not something that I will tolerate. This is what people don't tell you about respect. It is not just about demanding it. It is about withdrawing access when respect is not given to you, right? You withdraw other people's access to your energy, to your time, to your presence. Stop showing up for people who disrespect you, who wouldn't notice if you stopped showing up. Stop being generous with your energy in spaces where you're constantly shrinking. Sometimes the most respectful thing that you can do for yourself is to walk away without looking back. The truth is that respect does not come from demanding it. It comes from embodying it in your words, in your energy, in your boundaries, your decisions. So if you want people to treat you differently, start by showing them that you treat yourself with respect. And if they still don't get it, have the self-respect to walk away. So if you guys found this video helpful, go ahead, tell me in the comments, give it a thumbs up because that helps the algorithm. Go check out this video next because YouTube says that you are going to enjoy this one a lot. And I'm gonna see you guys very, very soon in the next one. Bye.